So, I wanted to do this. I ain't been able to do this for a little while, so I want to do this one last thing. So, most people here know that I was Andrew's campaign chairman for the state of South Carolina, and I ain't been able to introduce him in so long, and I just wanted to do that one last time for my good friend, my good brother, Mr. Andrew Yang.
Let's give it up for State Rep Jermaine Johnson. He's the leader we need here in the Capitol. South Carolina, it's a pleasure to be back and to announce to you all today and the world that I will be running for president. No, I'm kidding. There's a really, really good times here in South Carolina, though. How many of you were part of the primary campaign in 2020 here in South Carolina? That was a blast. I know that you're looking forward to having visitors on the presidential level. But the fact is, the country knows that we need a different approach to politics. And I learned this when I ran for president. I was campaigning and I was talking to a waitress in a small town. It was in Iowa, but it could easily have been here in South Carolina. And I said, "Hey, I'm Andrew Yang, I'm running for president." And then she was intrigued and said, "What party?" And I said, "Democrat." And then she reacted like I'd said something profane and then flinched and was like, "Oh." And I thought, wow, that's where we are as a country now, where this person will just respond to the party. And then I found myself saying, "But no, don't worry, I'm not like the Democrats that you see on TV." And I had to have that conversation any number of times. It made me very, very sad, where our country has become now these two warring tribes, and we're all falling victim to it. When I came off the trail, I was despondent about the direction of our country and our politics, and I was trying to figure out why I felt this way, why we all feel this way. And we feel this way because we're being set up. We're being set up to fail. We're being set up to fail by the worst design in the history of the world. And unfortunately, that design is going to get worse, not better. Some of you may know me as the math guy. What is the approval rating for US Congress as we're here together today? 12%. I'm anchoring you low so you know it's low. 17 to 22%, 25% on a good day. That's pretty bad. That might even be worse than you thought. What is the re-election rate for individual incumbent members of Congress? 85%. Anchoring you high. Person said 85%. It's higher than that, it's 94%. What? For you sports fans like Jermaine, that's a better win rate than the Jordan-era Chicago Bulls or the Durant-era Golden State Warriors. Those are the numbers for the incumbents. How many of you all work in small businesses or have been an owner-operator like I've been? Imagine if 4 out of 5 of your customers weren't happy and you changed nothing. What would happen to your business over time? That's the American political system in a nutshell right now, where if you get into office, in order to get reelected, you don't have to win 51% of the constituents in your district. The only way you can lose is not by losing in a general, but it's by getting primaried from within your party. The reason why you have a 94% reelection rate is that 90% of the districts in this country are drawn to be either blue or red. They're uncompetitive. You know who's going to win. It's one reason why most people are checked out of politics, because they're saying, what's the point? What do I care which Democrat or which Republican represents me? They're all going to be the same. And so they unplug. They disengage. And so if you are in this system, the only interest you have is by keeping the 10 to 12% most extreme voters in your party happy and off your back. That's why you can take someone who's pretty reasonable, put them in the system, and all of a sudden they seem crazy as soon as you put a TV camera on them, because they're catering to the most extreme folks in their party. Then you have media organizations separating us into these ideological tribes. They make more money that way. And then you have social media pouring gasoline on the whole thing. What do you all think? Is that a reasonable summary of American politics? That is why we all feel the way we do. Is that going to get worse or better? It's going to get worse. These forces are getting stronger, not weaker. Bipartisanship now is a dirty word. If you talk to folks in DC, they used to break bread together. They used to be friends together. Their families used to eat together. None of that happens now. Now they're legitimately in separate silos lobbing grenades at each other. That is why we feel the way we do. But I'm happy to say that the answer lies within our reach. And that's what we're here today to champion, which is instant runoff voting and ranked choice voting right here in South Carolina. And we're going to have to find ways to translate this message to people so they get it. You know what I mean? Like instant runoff voting, it sounds kind of snappy and good. What I say to Republicans is, look, it's going to save you all money. It's going to save you millions of dollars. Do you really want to run runoff elections that no one shows up for anyway because they don't know it's a runoff? This state spent millions of dollars over the past 6 years on unnecessary runoffs. Can you guys think of a better thing you might want to spend millions of dollars on? Pretty much anything under the sun, you know? Police, schools, roads, whatever. You can pick anything under the sun. It'd be better than unnecessary runoff. So that's an argument that'll work on just about anyone. Now, if you look at what's happening, according to Jermaine, I'm sure he's right, the worst number of parties you can have is 1. The second worst is 2. And our founding fathers didn't want it this way. When I talk about the worst design in the history of the world, this was not the founding fathers' design. George Washington famously warned against partisanship on his way out, if you read his farewell address. John Adams called 2 parties a great evil across the land. You can find that quote. James Madison talked about factions that never shift and just clash and go nowhere as the biggest thing to avoid. Also, sounds familiar, doesn't it? Our founding fathers would be shocked and horrified if they woke up today and said, I cannot believe you have let yourself get divided into 2 parties like this and let them carve up the country like a turkey. That is what they've done. That's what they've done to us, and it's torn our families apart. It's destroyed relationships. It's turned neighbors against neighbors. It's made it so that some people feel like they have to move to have the right sort of environment for their family. It's toxic, it's dangerous, and it's getting worse. That is why I am here. I was born to immigrants in this country. Every time there's a technical failure, I blame one of the parties, depending upon where I am. I was brought up with a very deep love of this country and appreciation. Wasn't always easy. I was the very awkward Asian kid in an upstate town, but I knew on some level how fortunate I was to be here. My parents came here to create better opportunities for my brother and me, and it worked. The question now is, what are we going to leave to our kids, our future? I have 2 young boys, 10 and 7, one of whom is autistic. And what sort of society and environment will they be inheriting? How many of you feel like we're leaving them a bed of roses? Raise your hand on that. No, I know that's not true because you're here today. How many of you think that we're leaving them a shambles and an embarrassment and it's downright dangerous? That's everyone here. And if you look around, you know there are millions of people here in the state who would agree with that statement. They are just a little bit concerned and scared and maybe not clued in to the fact that there's a way out. They think if they get engaged, it means they're going to pick a fight, someone's going to get mad at them, someone's going to trash them on social media. We have to show them that we actually outnumber the partisans that would keep us divided. Am I right? Yeah. So I left the Democratic Party in 2021. And I found the Democrats to be a very circumspect group. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I was kind of stunned by the reaction. I was telling Jermaine last night, I didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. And maybe I underestimate myself or whatnot. I was like, yeah, I'm going down this reform road. I see now that there's no way out that's not instant runoff voting. And that needs to be nonpartisan, tripartisan. It can't be from within one of the major parties. So I left the Democratic Party. But I have to say that experience helped inform the necessity of why we're here today. Because people have been programmed to think that if you're not on our team, then you're somehow bad intentioned, nefarious, and that's how the polarization works. The reaction I saw only invigorated me and made me see that this is the mission. This is the only way to improve our politics, change the incentives, and make it so that our leaders have to answer to us. Right now, they do not have to answer to us. It's a fiction. It's a lie. When someone says, oh, like, get out and vote, I mean, half the time your vote doesn't matter, and most Americans know that because They've been set up in a district where their vote won't count. If this reform passes, everyone's vote will count in every election in the country. If we can get that message out to our fellows, I was going to say fellow South Carolinians, I don't live here. Our fellow Americans will win. And I know this because I was just in Nevada campaigning for this. And of the two major parties, both of them, of course, came out against these reforms. I was with volunteers in Nevada right before the vote. They were getting text messages, in this case from the Democratic Party, saying, vote no on question 3. And you know what the reason they gave was? It'll be too confusing. It'll be too confusing for voters. Talk about patronizing, condescending, and the rest of it. But despite the fact that both major parties came out against it, Nevadans voted for it. And Nevadans voted for it in large part because they have common sense, but also because of one of the messages that was for this proposition was a military veteran speaking straight to camera, saying, I went overseas to serve my country, I'm an independent, and now I cannot vote in this state's primaries, and I don't think that's right. And that's the message that Chris had, where you have military veterans who come back. By the way, about half of military veterans are independent. And a lot of the times they're locked out of the system. Do you think that's right in South Carolina? No. Do you think your fellow South Carolinians would agree with that if that was presented to them? The military veterans, there was a quote, if America's a religion, military veterans are its clergy. And I want to thank everyone here who's given their time and service to this country. And I'm always thrilled to make common cause with Veterans for Political Innovation, one of the sponsoring organizations, because that is exactly the spirit that animates them. They are all about country over party. How many people can you say that about in our leadership now who put country over party? We have a bunch of conformist careerists, and it's an embarrassment. And one emblem of that is going to be the Democratic presidential primary that you're going to have here in this state in February 2024. I think it's going to be crickets. I think it's going to be Joe Biden, then everyone's going to clear out saying Joe, Joe, Joe. And I don't think that's a healthy process. I don't think that's healthy. As someone who ran in that primary last time, there were a lot of us. This time you're going to see a very robust, crowded Republican primary, but I think that should exist on both sides. What do you all think? But I don't think that's what we're going to get. If it is Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, the combined age of those two candidates will be 159 years old in 2024. I don't think that's necessarily what you want either in a modern society. Not to be a jerk, but I don't think they got that, I don't think the last 4 years have been a good thing for those candidates. 58% of Americans would want another choice aside from those two candidates. And that's one of the reasons we're here today, is to say, look, we deserve more choice and more voice in our future and our family's future. So I'm here because what happens in South Carolina is going to be vital to the future of this country. I'm here because you all represent the best hope that there is. It warmed my heart and inspired me how ideologically diverse the people here are. You have Greens, Libertarians, Principles First, Forward Party. We all need to get together. We need to make common cause. Democrats, Republicans, Independents. One ask I do have is that we have a signature table for the Forward Party over there. We're just trying to get on the ballot the same way that the other parties have. So if you could do us a huge favor and just sign on that petition before you leave here today. You're not joining the Forward Party. All you're saying is that Forward Party deserves a spot on the ballot. What do you all think? Yeah. Because we deserve more choice and more voice. So please do sign up over there. It's all about waking the people up. Whoa, what's going on? I'm getting bum rushed. Where's my security? Jermaine! Keep the banner. Those are good times on the campaign trail. Thanks, guys. I'm sure what you're doing is necessary and good for my bodily health. I've been going around the country to events like this, But I will say that South Carolina is going to be the hotbed for democracy over this next period of time. And you have to use the clout that you have. The Republican candidates are going to come in here and say, please, please support me for the White House. The Democratic Party are going to be first in the country. The question is, how are you going to use that power? Are you going to use that power for status quo? Are you going to use that power for politics as usual? Or are you going to use that power to hold people's feet to the fire and say, we want real leadership, real accountability, and real representation in our government? That's the message that you can deliver, that we can deliver by helping back Jermaine and make this bill a reality, by giving voice to the millions of people here in South Carolina, around the country, that are having that voice taken away, to move this state and this country we love, not left or right, but forward, which is where we all want to go. Thank you all so much, South Carolina. I will see you very soon.